granniopteryx, she knows the truth, she's linking every link.
Hello. So there's an article here in the Daily Mail salivating about the terrible time that Vikrum Digwa, whose photo is further up the page, but quite frankly, I don't want to see the face of that creature. So you'll have to take my word for it that he's there in the newspaper article. It's a sort of salivating about the terrible time he's having, how other prisoners, he's frightened that they're going to try, or they are going to kill him. And indeed, it's quite possible that he's right. So one of the officers there said, I've no idea whether he was some sort of hard man outside of prison, but in Frankland, he looks terrified most of the time, and that can invite an attack. You see, like a lot of bullies, he's also a coward. And this person is saying he's going around looking frightened all the time. And that's the sort of behaviour that gets you picked on in a prison. Frankland is a very violent place. People have been killed there before. He will just have to get on with prison life, the article continues, and accept that because of his crime, he's not going to have an easy time. The recent spate of prison killings has seen, various people, not just in Frankland. Here, this is one in HMP Wakefield. While inmates see child abusers and sex offenders as the lowest of the low, prison insiders say there's a demographic of inmates who are likely to target Digwa because of the particular nature of his crime. Now, there are stabbings all the time. There are people who get put in jail because they stabbed somebody and killed them. This particular crime has a specific extra to it. And the extra is not actually Digwa's responsibility. Digwa is a liar and a terrible person, and I agree that he should be in jail. I agree that he should be in jail for a long time. Just don't get me wrong on that. That's absolutely for sure. But why the other prisoners should go for him, and is for the same reason that the Daily Mail is doing an article about him. Because, as I say, the Daily Mail will be reporting all the time on stabbings in the street, and there won't be this sort of concentration. No, there's an extra layer, which is the elephant in the room, and it's being loaded onto Digwa's case, and that is the behaviour of the police. Now, however terrible Digwa is, however much he deserves to be in jail, that doesn't excuse how the police acted. And the sins of the police somehow are being overlaid onto Digwa. The fact is, in my opinion, that it was the police who actually killed Henry Novak. That is, he had survived for almost an hour, I believe, sitting up, breathing through his one good lung, while the other one had been punctured by that stinker Digwa. But he was all right until the police pulled him onto the ground and then expanded his chest by pulling his arms behind his back. And somehow I think that by a combination of the way the courts acted, the way the police have obfuscated, and with the cooperation of this sort of an article, the police are getting off scot-free on this. It says somewhere in here that the police, the I don't think so mate policeman, is being investigated, but he should have been arrested. And somehow the whole way that the angle of the news media, as well as the Home Office and the police, has been to minimise the responsibility of the police in this way, and somehow putting it all onto Digwa instead. Digwa deserves to be in jail. I keep on saying that because you get people who come in halfway through a video and think I'm trying to excuse him. No. He was a coward, a bully, a liar. And then you got the police, whoever was in charge of that particular police office, was saying he was very wicked. He wickedly lied. So we're not responsible, is the ending of that. He said Digwa lied, made a wicked lie, which caused the next bit, the police to act the way they did. I don't let them get away with that sort of thing. The police, he wounded with intent. The police actually finished off that wound. And we are being encouraged by this sort of an article to enjoy the terror of this nasty little waste of space, without thinking of the fact that he's no worse than a lot of other little wastes of space who actually get out after a couple of years. We are angry with the situation because a lovely young man was blamelessly just walking around, having celebrated a great event and the end of his term and all the rest of it. And he was murdered by the actions of this horrible little, this vicious little toad who was obviously the product of a family of vicious little toads. But the police are just as culpable, and they are not being held to that standard. The way they've put it here, Digwa then set about creating a story that painted the teenager as the drunk aggressor and himself as the victim of a vile racist attack. So this is the way the Daily Mail have framed it. So this is Digwa's fault. When the police arrived on the scene, Digwa and his brother fed officers his version of events. And then they say, he didn't tell them that he had repeatedly stabbed Mr. Novak, which is true. But the police had Novak telling them he was injured. And they completely ignored absolutely everything. Everything. And somehow the Mail and all the other media are concentrating on Digwa's lie and not on the police irresponsibility and cruelty. And not on the fact that the police have been fed this idea that you can beat white people up, but not brown people. You see it all the time with all the various demos. Recently it's been, of course, a lot of pro-Palestine demos, but it's other things as well. When a perfectly blameless man was standing in a pub garden and there were a load of Muslims, the whole pack, and I'm using the word pack deliberately. A whole pack of them outside the pub garden. They took exception to him standing there, and they jumped over the partition of the pub garden and beat him senseless. I haven't heard of any serious crime being brought up on that. There was a little bit of kerfuffle, and this fellow there in a wheelchair was being apologised to by some community spokesperson. And the police, nowhere to be seen. The courts not judging this by the same standards. And that conversation is not being had only by people like me and various others on the internet. We're talking about that. But there is this perception being pushed by news media like the Daily Mail that it's all Digwa's fault. And so he carries the weight of the murder of that fine young man. It was the police. And again, not that I'm saying Digwa should be out. He stabbed a defenceless, blameless person. He's obviously, at the very least, mentally not right. He should be away from society for the rest of his life. But that doesn't absolve the police from their responsibility. It says here, one officer now being investigated by the police watchdog. How much confidence do you have in the police watchdog? Answers in the comments below. Yeah, I'd be very interested to hear what you have to say. Okay, till next time. You can help my channel by subscribing and clicking the notification bell. That's quite important. And by sharing if you're so inclined. Links to my other channels and to donation methods are in the description. But the best way you can help is simply by clicking like and notify. Thank you.